Hey nieces and nephews, this is your Black auntie Kiana Ellison, and this is a Blackity Black recap. In the previous episode titled Too Black, my friend Kia and I came on here and spoke about the prejudice against darker skin in the Black community. In recent years, we have seen many campaigns to push self-love and accepting the skin that you're in, and not wanting to be either lighter or darker, but literally embracing who you are in the way that God made you. Unfortunately, even with this new boom of self-love and skin acceptance, there is still a prejudice against darker skinned individuals within our society, within our media, and many more aspects of the group thought. If you would like to hear the full conversation that Kia and I had pertaining to the prejudice against darker skin in the Black community and in our society as a whole, please go check out the previous episode titled Too Black. At the recording of this podcast, everyone knows the name of Dante Wright and Adam Toledo. And I just want to say, no matter what political, cultural, religious, or what any type of view that you may have, please put it aside, because the murder and the injustice that these two individuals face and the many other people who have been in their similar position is just not right, morally or at a human standpoint. And I'm pretty sure as humans, we can all agree that this is corruption and there needs to be change within the system. Politics cannot change anything that the heart refuses to accept that needs change. If you need a change of heart, go seek some help. Maybe you have prejudice in your heart that you don't even understand, where you cannot even view a murder correctly. It's not about Blue Lives Matter. It's not about Black Lives Matter. It's not about Brown Lives Matter. It's about the murder and the injustice of people. Then, if you look at the facts, you see a trend. And when a trend happens, we need to address it as such. So I just wanted to say that before I actually start talking about our new series that we're having, because this issue is more important than anything I could ever talk about. Because the police brutality in this country is like none other. The racism in this country is like none other. The acceptance in this country is like none other. So please check your heart before you check your politics. Please check your heart before you check your pockets. Please check your heart before you check your cultural biases. Well, you know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, I'll get into this podcast. I just wanted to say, check yourself before you want to complain about something. Check who you are, please, because it's not about politics. This is about life, because we all deserve to live. This episode will actually be launching our microaggression series. Now, with most words nowadays, people don't know the meaning and will use it outside of context, and it's so annoying. Microaggression, unfortunately, as serious as it is, has caught the heat of people's ignorance and not knowing what it is. So before I actually go into this series, I'm going to give a definition of what microaggression is. A microaggression is the intentional or unintentional communication that is typically hostile, negative, or derogatory that stigmatizes marginalized groups. The amount of microaggressions that I've received in my 24 years of life have been astounding. Like, I could probably fill 3 public pools with the amount of microaggressions that I have received. Now, I'm not the blackest person walking. According to everyone around me, I've been told by many ethnicities, white, Latino, Black, you name it, that I am just not Black enough, which is one of microaggression. I'm not Black enough, and equals a Black person. So pretty much every stereotype, right? So actually, when I was in high school, I received probably the most microaggressions I've ever received in my life. And this actually is one moment, it just comes to mind, because when I look back at it, I didn't really think it was microaggressive, but now that I'm an adult and I understand the extent of microaggressions, This was very microaggressive. So I had a best friend. She was white. She was Jewish and stuff like that. For sake of what do you call it, concealment of identities, I will call her stepdad George, and I will call her Sally. I'm in the car. It's Sally's birthday. I think she's turning 18 or 17. We're all in the car. I've been friends with Sally since I started high school. So we've been friends all the way to the end, right? So George is her stepdad, and he knows me. He knows what ethnicity I am. He knows what languages I speak, which is English. He knows what languages I speak. He knows everything pretty much about me. He's been around me so long, right? So on Sally's birthday in particular, we're in the back seat. Sally and I are chit-chatting and talking. And from the driver's seat, I can see George like looking up and down at me, right? And I think nothing of it because he's driving. So out of nowhere, George is like, "So Kiana, yeah, so you're black, right?" And I'm like, yes, yeah, George, yeah, I'm black. Sally's mad. She's like, George, you cannot say that. George is like, well, okay, well, what type of black are you? Uh? What type of black am I? Oh. And Sally was enraged. Sally is what we call an activist. She is anti racist. She is everything that you would want from someone who used to be racist. Sally was not an ex racist, but I'm saying, like, she is the goal for most white people that I pray for. That's the goal I would want for white people, to be anti racist and to address and acknowledge and create behavior from other white people. Now, I'm going to finish the story. George is like, what, Sally? I'm curious what type of black Kiana is. You know, she never went into depth pretty much of what type of black she is. And I'm sitting there very cordially smiling because I'm like, I've never been asked. You know, personally, as a black person, no one really asks you where you're from, your culture, and everything. They just assume you're from America, and that's about it. Anyway, George is like, so Kiana, what type of black are you? And I've always been a little fiery. So I respond, well, George, I'm the type of black that used to live in the western part of Africa, who people were displaced, discarded, killed, lynched, colonized, and put on a boat to come to a foreign country to pick cotton, sugar cane, and you know the rest of the things. I was like, that's the type of black I am. I'm the type of black who people were displaced due to slavery and colonization from white people. Does that answer your question, George? And he's like, oh, yes, that completely answers my question. Now, George was just curious to see if I was Afro-Latina, Afro-Caribbean, from Brazil, the whole 9 yards. George has known me at that point for almost 4 years. He knew what type of black I was, what type of black person I was. The fact that he didn't even call me a black person, but a black, what type of black am I? What? That is just so aggressive. Him and Sally went back and forth in an argument because I didn't have to speak after that. I said my thing, I said my piece, and he was silent. I wish I could say that was the only time someone asked me something so out of pocket. Like, what type of black person am I? Am I spicy black? Am I like Afro-Latina, or what am I? Like, do I speak Spanish? Like, and all those things typically on paper would not seem aggressive. It would seem like we're doing the 20 something something census, right? Microaggressions, like I stated before, can be unintentional. I personally have committed the microaggressive statements such as, where are you from? Where are your people from? And to me, being black, I personally didn't see anything racist or prejudiced about the question. But when you ask someone who is marginalized for being immigrants and like being accused for being illegal in a country that was already stolen, like, it can come off microaggressive because in this country, I am American and I have that American privilege to ask such rude and microaggressive questions. In my own personal, and I'll expose my own self, could I expose George? In my own personal life, I asked this girl, I asked her, what is your ethnicity? And she said, American. That's her nationality. So I was curious because I'm also American, but we are not the same people. So I was sitting there like, okay, well, I know you're American, you have American citizenship, but where are your people from? I really would like to know. Like, I think it's so, interesting. And everyone at the table is looking at me like, Kiana, you can't ask that. And I'm like, but I'm black and she's black, but she's telling me she's not black. So I would like to know. Like, I'm curious. Do you speak French? Do you speak Spanish? Right. I kept pushing, right? And I eventually found out that she was Puerto Rican. I personally didn't understand what was such a problem. Her telling me that her family, like her grandpa and her mom and stuff, are from Puerto Rico. I honestly, personally didn't know what the problem was. The problem is, I am pushing her to disclose information that she did not feel comfortable giving me, a stranger. But I continued to push and got my answer. Now, asking someone who is Latino in America, where are you from, may not seem microaggressive, but it can be because of the discrimination they have faced based on immigration, ICE, and all that jazz. So you would ask a white person where they're from, they might just answer your question. But you'd ask a Latino person where they're from and continue to push to say, but where are you really from? Rude and microaggressive. So just like I had to get yours checked, I had to check myself and I had to apologize. Personally, if I can maybe be honest, when I walked away from that conversation 3-4 years ago, I got in an argument with one of my friends at the table because she was telling me I was wrong. And I was like, but I don't understand. We're in the same ethnic background. Like, I don't understand. And even though I was still very furious because baby girl cussed me out, even though I was very furious and I was very not understanding of the situation, now that I'm older, I do understand where she was coming from and I can understand where I went about it wrong. When it comes to microaggressions, sometimes the logic of it doesn't add up to the reality of it. Because if you were to ask someone questions on paper, it's fine. But when you come into reality, a lot of the things just don't merge or translate correctly. Now, with microaggressions, they are not subjected just to people of color, but white people can also face microaggressions as well. I actually just came back from South Florida a couple of days ago, and I met a girl. I would not disclose her name. Here's her nickname. I will call her a nickname. Her name was Jane. Jane was white and curvy. Now, she was talking to my sister and I, and she's like completely anti-racist. She's like down for the cause, but she's educated. She's decided to educate herself. She comes from this very right-wing, racist, like anti-black family and friend groups, things like that. So for her to be so racist with the background that she has shows that if you educate yourself, you can truly understand what's in front of you versus what you were raised on. Now, how does all that play into her being curvy and white? Well, she is curvy and she's white, where in our society, we can say stereotypically the curvy people in America are black people and the skinny people typically are white people. At least that's what I grew up on. That's what the music video showed me. That is the society that I grew up on. That is the beauty standard that I knew very well. Now, with her being white, Jane was talking about like how some black people have said, girl, with shape like that, I can't even believe that you're white. Are you like 100% white? Are you like white? Is she white? Huh? I wish someone would ask me if I'm black. Just like George asked me what type of black am I, and I got offended, and I answered correctly. She answered correctly. She said, yes, I'm white. And I'm seeing her like, I hope you are aware that that's a microaggression. Like, anytime someone says something like that to you, you need to check them because that's inherently stereotypical. Like, a body shape is a body shape. It's not reserved for black people. It's not reserved for white people. Body shapes are body shapes. So I was sitting there like, eye open, because I have said it too. Many black people have. I can't speak for other people of color because I'm only black, but I wouldn't go against it that they have said crap like that to white people, because I've had crap said like that to me. Like, I'm not the curviest person, and that's fine. I think I'm like medium size, large size, average. I don't know. I think I'm average American. I don't really know. But all I know is this one time I was at my friend's house. We'll call her Kayla. And her grandma was looking at me and she was like, in Spanish, pretty much, hey, is Kiana like black black? Like, is she 100% black? And she's talking to me in Spanish. She's like, cause like black girls are like Nicki Minaj, big old boom, 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 boom. And you're just kind of like itty bitty teeny weeny. So are you like half white? So offended. I tell you that. I was so offended because that's something I received my whole life. Some people might say, oh, but it's a cultural thing. She didn't know it was in Spanish. Woo woo. No. She knew what she was saying. She know how it's supposed to come off. Just like with Jane and just like with Kayla's grandma, you can see the correlation of, well, you don't fit the mold of what we thought you were supposed to be. So we are curious on who you actually are. And that's a micro thing. No one's going to sit there and protest because someone offended my body shape based on my ethnicity. No one's going to be out there marching. No one died. But I was hella offended because of stereotypes. Jane was hella offended because of stereotypes. Because microaggressions are literally steeped in prejudice, stereotypes. You cannot say something like, where are you from? Why are you shaped like that? You white girl. Like, you can't say stuff like that to people. That is microaggressive and it is rude. You cannot. If you are out here making microaggressive statements and you can't check yourself, that means you make it in a casual conversation like it's something normal. Being racist should not be normal. We need to anti-normalize racist behavior, starting with the self. I had to learn to check myself for microaggressive statements. And unfortunately, I can still make a microaggressive statement, but fortunately, I can check myself as well. And I can apologize or I can reflect. If you go, should I say that? You might not want to say it. Like this guy in Florida. And I'm not coming for Florida. I'm just saying I was in Florida and this happened. And this man tells me and my sister, who are tanned, he said, the men would like you because you're dark and something different. What? Different? You mean he was white and told me I was different? He was white and called me different. If you don't know what the problem is in that statement, I'm going to need you to go read a book about microaggressions. I'm going to need you to go take a seminar, a TED Talk, or please listen to any of the other podcasts prior to this one. Because you cannot you might as well use the E word. It's exotic. Like I'm some plant or something. Like I'm a cactus in the middle of a tropical place. Like, I'm not a cactus in a prairie land. Don't call me exotic. I am not exotic. I am not different. Those are microaggressive. You making statements such as that are microaggressive. You don't look that black. It's microaggressive. I can't even believe you're not mixed. Microaggressive. It's called micro because it's small. It's something that piles up, eats someone from the inside out, and then when it's spit out, it comes right back to hit them in the face because people are like, I didn't mean it like that. What, you're just thinking too much of it. I'm thinking appropriately. I'm thinking actually the proper amount. Thank you very much. When someone checks you on saying that something is microaggressive, that's the point in the conversation where you should stop talking. You should stop talking and start listening. Because they're micro. They are not like institutional racism. They happen in casual conversation. You can slip to a family member and slip to a friend. Just like I said in the last podcast with Keita, she was told, by these two elderly black women, that you are pretty for a black girl. And though that is colorist, it is also microaggressive. Because inherently, she should be ugly because she's darker skinned according to society, right? Right? So you'll make statements such as, wow, you're so pretty, I can't believe it. Why? Oh, because I'm dark skinned. Oh my God, you're just so emotional. Why? Because I'm light skinned? It wasn't the fact that you just punched me in the face and called me ugly 17 times. No, I'm just emotional because I'm light skinned. Like, that is so dumb. So stupid. But it's so casual. We're just being funny. You're just not being funny. We're being funny. Ha 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 ha. Everyone thinks it's funny, but the person who's being microaggressive, you're being microaggressive to this one person and you call it humor. You're being racist to a person, you call it humor. It's not humor. It's a microaggression. Call it as it is. If it's a dog and it barks like a dog and it looks like a dog, it's a dog. If it walks like a duck, it looks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Don't call racism comedy. Don't call all these things what they aren't. And I could literally go on and on and on about all the microaggressive things that have happened to me. But like I said, in my 24 years of life, I received so many aggressions, I couldn't even fit in a book if I really wanted to. And I hate that I have so many, but I love it because it's content, if I may be honest. That I can teach you guys, I can talk to you guys, that we can all learn together. And we can really sit here and go, oh, even though I'm Black, I'm guilty. Even though I'm white, I'm guilty. I need to check myself more. Even though I'm Latino, I need to check myself. I'm a woman. I need to check myself. I'm being microaggressive to men. I'm a man. I need to check myself. I'm being microaggressive to other men, So it's a process, First you have to start with yourself before you want to go out there and protest every little thing. You might be the thing you're protesting. So please be careful. Like, there's a verse in the Bible, pretty much. Before you want to go point out the sawdust in someone else's eye, please take the plank out of your own eye. Check yourself before you want to go check other people. Because we are all guilty in this country. I'm calling out anybody who can speak, do sign, or write. Anyone is guilty. And if there's some people in between all that, you also are guilty, because everybody can do it. No one is absolved from this. We all just have to learn from it and try harder. Honestly, we have to try harder. We just can't accept, well, that's how I was raised. Okay? And that means nothing to me. Try again. You have to learn. You have to try. This is not cultural. This is racist. Stereotypes are racist and prejudiced. They are. So, if that bursts any bubbles, those bubbles were never supposed to be blown in the first place. So this actually concludes the first episode in our microaggressive series. So remember, everyone, anybody can give a microaggression and anyone can receive a microaggression. That's why we all must be careful and continue to walk this pilgrimage of anti-racism, anti-prejudice, anti-stereotype. We all have to try. As for now, check yourself. For real, try. Really try. Check some statements that you've said and cross-evaluate. If someone said this to me, would I be mad? And even if I wasn't, is it wrong to say? All these steps will help us as a society, as a group, as a family, get closer to understanding one another in a different light, in a better light, without being racist, without being offended, without being prejudiced. I would just like to say thank you so much to everyone who takes time out their day to actually listen to what I have to say, who likes, comments, and subscribes. Honestly, that support is just so meaningful to me. I don't think people really understand what it's like to feel supported in a climate that doesn't really want to support you. So I'm really appreciative always about any type of support that I get or any type of questions that I get. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the last podcast, before you want to ask a question, try to check that last podcast out because we may have answered your question in that previous podcast. Well, that's all I have to say today, nieces and nephews. So don't be shy with your questions. You can leave them in the comment section down below. You can leave them in my DMs on Instagram. I'm always available. You can send me an email if you really need to. But feel free to ask me any questions about this podcast or even previous episodes. I just want to thank you once again for all the support and all the love that you give me. all that being said, I hope everyone has a great day, and I hope everyone stays black. Okay. Bye, everyone.